Following is a presentation of iRacing on PTRTV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. After the Memorial Day week off, we head to the track too tough to tame, the Lady in Black, the Darlington Raceway. 2.5 lanes of pavement at high speeds, keeping it off the wall, minimizing the stripes, and trying to survive and racing the track. That will be the name of the game here today for the Area Cup Series, brought to you by the Studio Temporary, as we have one of the longer races in the 2026 campaign, 200 laps around this famed egg-shaped oval. Welcome everybody to PTRTV, round number 9 of the Area Cup Series. Again, 200 laps around this racetrack, and it's certainly going to be a very difficult but entertaining night. Gonna be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth and in the truck. Brad Dalton helping me out with the calls. Hunter is, we don't know where Hunter is, but we assume he's okay, just a busy man at work. So Brad, Darlington, 200 laps, a very difficult night. Keeping this car off the wall for 200 laps is certainly going to be the #1 goal of these drivers tonight.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. As we get set up for things here, this is one of those where we see what happens and who earns their stripes. So we're not talking about earning the stripes of being a professional. We're talking about those infamous Darlington stripes that you get from this track. And it's going to be a case of, well, who does well, who doesn't do well, who can keep it together, because 200 laps, it's a good race length here, and, well, anything can happen.
Absolutely anything can happen here, as we'll see again after 1 week off for the Memorial Day holiday. These drivers back at it here. Travis Beckner on the racetrack. Again, we are qualifying here, so we'll see where each of these drivers is on the pylon. Sebastian Marin, no surprise, top of the board here with 2 minutes left. Let's see what Beckner can do. Looks like he is on just a bonus lap here, but let's take a look at somebody else who is on the racetrack. Dylan Alt, who just hasn't had any luck this season. Started off very good at Daytona, but just hasn't had much luck to back that up since then. Where does he fall into the list right now? Well, he falls nowhere, because that lap 8 gonna count.
Yeah, Dylan Alt has had 1 pole this season so far. Looking in on the run here, he's had a win there in Boyd Motorsports, but is sitting 30th in points right now. This is the fun of the points too, Corey, as we watch Reese Schaefer go around. You have to remember the fact that with the points, it's all about that consistency going through. We have the winningest driver, Van Drugman, who's sitting 4th in points right now because he's not been the most consistent. And you have to remember, that's the big name of the game here. James Scioli leading points, Seth Noel, Jake Nichols, Van Drugman in 4th, and Logan Helton, your top 5 in points. It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes up. One notable in the points here, though, as qualifying has 60 seconds left to go. Sebastian Marin is sitting 15th in points right now with 3 poles, 1 win.
And of course, he did have his issues with attendance, missing a race due to the hardware failures he endured, I want to say, at Las Vegas. But here's James Scioli. He's going to be lucky or unlucky, number 13. Depends how you want to slice that there. Who else on the racetrack? David Brown. As looks like everybody basically done with their qual times. Of course, we want to thank everyone for tuning in here to PTRTV. If it's your first time, don't make it your last. Hit that like and subscribe button here. And of course, if you're on Twitch, consider liking and following on Twitch. $5 a month for a subscription will get you double points custom emotes, and you can turn those double points into merch. The elephant in the room here today, I am massively under the weather, so our HR here at PTRTV didn't approve PTO, so we will be trugging through this. But again, we're the racing will allow me to get over the illness, Brad, I'm sure.
Yeah, no PTO here at PTRTV allowed. Trust me, we tried, we argued, we called human resources, and they said, nope, get your butt on the broadcast. We got to have the best for the rest, and well, that is what we're going to get here in the Area Cup Series. Let's refresh your memory, by the way, 2 weeks ago, if you don't remember what happened in Dover. Things got kind of wild. Not gonna lie, it was a fun race, I have to say, 2 weeks ago, and well, one of those that when you think back at it, well, you remember how it happened all the way along that 150 laps around Dover Motor Speedway, where Seth Noel picked up the win with 33 laps led. James Scaoli was in second. Kwame Scott was in third, 66 laps led. Sebastian Marin and Drew Jua was your top 5 there in Dover.
That race did endure 6 cautions for 15 laps. Of course, the week of Dover, a very difficult week for us in the racing community. So Thursday, of course, we got the news with the Florida State Builders Pro Series about the passing of Kyle Busch, and that race ended up running flag to flag at the Dover Motor Speedway. So I don't expect that here today. Again, the Lady in Black, this next-gen car, Brad, we talk about it over and over again. I think that's a Nelly song with Tim McGraw, over and over again. Clean air. And obviously, you know, tracks like Michigan, tracks like Fontana, rest in peace, Charlotte, you can evade the dirty air, but we're going fast, but we don't have a lot of racetrack here to get yourself some downforce on the nose.
You know, Mark Martin brought up a good point where dirty air has always existed. This is one of the things to really remember. Dirty air has always existed, regardless of what series you look at, what car. The difference is these cars are so sensitive to dirty air now because there's so much built into the aerodynamics to make such a difference. And that is really where these Cup cars tend to shine as warm-up's been cut short and we get ready to go down to the grid here and get ready for our starting lineup.
And of course, we will be on the 750 low downforce package here, so that may help things out, but it'll be certainly a challenge. But let's go down for our Central Mobile Home starting lineup. Of course, if you're looking for a new home, shed, or Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Home, serving Florida customers for 30 years with a plethora of large and small home floor plan shed design and Triple Crown trailers available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomeinc.com. But let's head down for that starting lineup. Starting today's race off from the pinnacle position, it's going to be Sebastian Marin with Van Drugman trying to add to that win tally. He'll do it from the outside front row. Jake Nichols in third. Drew Jua, again, that heartbreak at Michigan still fresh in my mind. He's going to have a good spot in fourth. Reshaper in fifth. Jarrett Talmadge in sixth. Then we have Brent Pacari and the Moose, Patrick Moose in 8th, and rounding out our top 10, Jacob Harbert and Josh Caudell.
Next row, we go through David Weishart with Philip Groner kicking things off 11th and 12th respectively. From there, James Scaoli and Justin Sogak 13th and 14th. Adam Cabot will bring in P15 with Connor Horn down in 16th place in the number 6-7 machine. You go Tyler Nichols and Frankie Barroso 17th and 18th. Seth Berger in 19th and Jacob Bell, the big boss himself, in P20.
We'll go back to 21st. We'll find Hayden Swank with Logan Helton in the Kyle Busch M&M's ride. Of course, a lot of drivers doing the throwback schemes. You can see from this shot right there on Van Drugman as well. Travis Beckner in 23rd. Garrett Grant in 24th of the 37 car strong. Jeremy Miller, Bryce Senesac. Then we have AJ Stravato, the aforementioned Dylan Alt, and Seth Noel, John Forbes. We'll let the rest of them scroll on by. Admin very busy. And we don't have any EOL list, so we imagine that there will be a little scramble towards the back of the field.
Oh, I've got your EOL list.
Oh, hot off the presses.
It is going to be the number 3. It is going to be the 00 of Hayden Swank. The 3, of course, is Tyler Nichols. It is going to be the 5, and it is going to be the 16. The 5 being Garrett Grant, and the number 16, Rocky Boy the 3rd. That is your 4 EOLs here today.
That is very small, but that's a good thing because that means the racing has been cleaner. Obviously, if we are running with only 4 EOLs. Let's take a look at the weather here today from virtual Darlington, brought to you by Blue Tip Pool Builders. 81 in the air, 89 track temp, about 6:45 virtual time, so we will end this under the Darlington lights. Minimal wind here, and of course, dry track conditions. Again, a 200 lap race, Brad. This is, again, the Southern 500 is 367, so we're doing about 250 some odd miles here. This is going to be an enduro, and I do believe Sebastian Marin doing missing man formation here for Kyle Busch.
I love seeing Sebastian Marin here holding back and going through that missing man formation. This is going to be a long race. It's going to be a race that demands some endurance and attrition. This is going to be probably the longest race of our season, if I am looking at the numbers correctly. And I want to tell you that I am. I could be wrong, but I don't believe I am. If I am, then Hunter Sleppy will yell at me next week. So we'll let that be. But yeah, this is going to be one to watch and really see how it plays out. A lot of patience is going to need to be had, and these drivers are going to need to keep the tires under them. They're going to need to keep the cars put together, and when it's all said and done, only one person is going to come through on this track too tough to tame and actually manage to tame it.
Absolutely. We did not also get any of the preemptive track conditions or weather conditions or anything of the sort. So, well, we got the weather, but in terms of tire fall off, fuel distance, that's going to solely be on us to try and remember and figure out. So again, forgive us if we are perhaps a little off on that category. But we'll come through 3 and 4 here at the Darlington Raceway. And Sebastian Marin, Van Drugman on the front row. We have Nichols and Jua in row number 2. One of the harder turn lefts into pit lane on the service on the calendar here at Darlington. The pace car goes in. And let's get ready to go racing Darlington style. Barney has the flag in hand. Sebastian Marin will get on the loud pedal. And we're racing here at the Lady in Black.
Good getaway there from Sebastian Marin into turn 1. Able to hold on early. Look at Jake Nichols already trying to put some pressure on Van Drugman. And one of the things you'll see here at Darlington, it's hold up to the high line as high as you dare to go. And you can see side by side there for a majority of the field, and they hold through. One of the things Van Drugman has said is that he wants to challenge Sebastian Marin and really try to bring it to him on track. We've seen him and Marin get close. We've not really seen them duel out yet. And well, we're not going to see it yet because it's already 0.3 of a second in the lead. Sebastian Marin here going into lap 2.
Of course, the case here. So side by side off turn number 2. Very dangerous situation to be in. Pancari and Reese Schaefer battling there. I believe that was for 7th and 8th. Actually, perhaps that was Harvards and Schaefer. Pardon me, 7th and 8th there on the raceway. But single file again, Brad. We are running under the new lower downforce, higher horsepower package. That's the first time in area that they will have raced under these conditions. So a lot more simplified of a diffuser. It will help the dirty air. Travis Beckner down the back straightaway.
Oh, big spin in the back there from Beckner down the straightaway. Still down on the bottom of the track. Barney's taking a nap, by the way, if you're wondering. Well, not really. This is just the case of of Darlington, not of area, but of Darlington. And let's take a replay here. Oh, he got sent. I don't even know what to call that.
That was Jeremy Miller. And again, Darlington, basically everything that is not racing surface does count as off track. So the top 3 lanes where they are running, if you wreck below that, that's basically going to allow you to carry on. So Travis Beckner will hope for a caution. Rocky Boyd 1 lap down. But other than that, lap 5. But as I was saying, Brad, the diffuser does minimize the dirty air effect comparative to years past, but it certainly does not make the problem go away.
No, and it's, never going to make the problem go away. Dirty air is always going to be something that you have to deal with. There are different ways to minimize it, and this package can do well in doing that, but in the car, you're still going to feel it, especially these Cup cars are more susceptible because there's more aerodynamics built in. It's not, we're not driving F1 or Indy cars. We're driving stock cars still, but you definitely can feel where the air comes in compared to cars of years past. Or at least that's what I am told time and time again from the multitude of drivers that I've talked to.
Absolutely. We have some good racing here outside of the top 10. David Weishart looking to the inside of the 35 of Punkari. Again, all the throwback paint schemes. Brad, I know you're not the NASCAR guy, so I will have to dig into the mental archives, and I'll be able to find most of them there. I believe that is a Brad Keselowski one. But up front, Sebastian Marin doing Sebastian Marin things. And again, you can see behind him, Van Drugman running that Kyle Busch throwback in the old M&M scheme. And in honor, as we did on last Thursday, let's do a silent lap 8. Honorary lap 8. We did do the silent lap 1 through 8, but we will continue the trend of that probably for the rest of the season here. But Van Drugman last time through, well, there's some wall off of the corner. He was about a tenth and a half slower than Sebastian Mayer. And then you have Jake Nichols back there. Let's pull up the ticker on the lap time perspective, show you what these guys are running here as it updates. And there's Sebastian, I think the only driver in the O's, but last time by, Van Drugman a skosh faster. So perhaps long run pace starting to kick in around lap 10. But you know what, Sebastian, he might just be playing around and trying to save the good old tires.
Wouldn't surprise me knowing Sebastian Mayer, and he is a driver that is very, very smart and knows what it takes to go the distance. He very well can take the long run through if he needs to. He's not afraid to modulate the pace here and there, go a little bit slower for a few laps, go a bit faster for a few laps, and just let it be when he needs to. The thing for Van Drugman, one of the things to remember with Van Drugman's 17, and one of the things to remember with those younger drivers, I find, is they tend to just get a little bit into pushing. They love to really push these cars and push themselves, and sometimes that bit of patience isn't necessarily going to be on the game for them. They're going to be willing to just push through and not necessarily think about long term. They may be looking really more at the car ahead and saying, nope, I need to get past now.
Absolutely. Patience, not one of the things that younger drivers traditionally are good at here. As we go back to Adam Cabot in the 12th spot, I believe that is an Evernham, well, it's certainly an Evernham Dodge car, of course, for 609 Motorsports. I don't know if it's Kane or Mayfield. It's certainly not going to be Bill Elliott. He would not drive something that, Bill Elliott just would not drive that, so I don't know which one it is, but. And then this is Jeff Gordon All-Star Race 1998 question mark for Connor Horn in the number 6-7. And then just behind that, you have Philip Groner, who I believe he started higher up the grid than he's currently running now. Oh, not by much. He's on 3 spots on the day, but may try to get some more. As you can see, Brad, the sun going down, we can hardly see who's who down the straightaways. It will come into play for the drivers a little bit later in the race.
Yeah, that sun can make a big difference here if we hop on board with any of these drivers going down the straights. Right now, you can see where that sun is setting through. It flashbangs you for half a second, Corey, and it's, for that half second, you can lose yourself in the corner, in the movement, the moment you want it. You better never let it go, because you only get one shot. Otherwise, the Darlington stripes come out to play, and Well, if you're not careful, that stripe can knock that right front completely off camber and ruin your race.
Absolutely. And I do know from experience that the virtual reality drivers, not sure who they are or if there's any here in the race, but the virtual reality drivers have even a more difficult time with that dirty air. There's Seth Noel and one of the Wood Brothers-esque cars, that number 1. Sorry, pardon me, Seth Knoll. I was doing so good with that, and I just started butchering it just recently. Logan Helton not too far back, another Kyle Busch ride. Try to work on through. That's Seth Berger. Remember we did do the commemorative race at Indianapolis. The Dan Pete Fish, Seth Berger's friend there that was fallen due to cancer. He is having a pretty decent run, 77 car in the 17th spot, looking to be 18th here. As there is Helton, and also there goes Dylan Alt.
Look at this, a little bit of passing going along here. Typically you see a long line of cars form up, but right now you can see that bit of pressure being applied, working that inside line, working through. And again, I think this is a little bit of a long-term strategy being played, a little bit of patience coming here and there for these drivers as they think about how they're going to get to the end of this race, because it's a long way through. We're only 20 laps of 200 in, so I mean we're only a 10th of the way through this race. You've got to be thinking about it in that perspective. Set yourself that line and then just keep the race going. Get yourself to that first pit stop, and that's really going to be where I think you need to start to set the strategy in from there.
And Brad, I will confirm, I know you had kind of said with a little bit of a question mark that this is the longest race of the year, but I am just verifying on the schedule. It certainly is. The only other race that we have on the calendar that is 200 laps is Bristol. And just say a lap at Bristol, significantly shorter than what we're doing here at Darlington by about a factor of half. But next week's race, on the week of June 8th, if you're watching this live, it will be All-Star Week. Now, we haven't been privy to any information, so we're back from an off week, and then we will have another effective off week from points competition amongst all 3 series. So we will have that off week All-Star. Don't know anything about it, but when we find out, well, it might be in the show. We'll find out together. But Brad, then looking up here as we lead ourselves into the chase here, after the All-Star, we dust off the time machine and head to the Daytona Road Course, which hasn't been used competitively for the NASCAR configuration since 2021. That is certainly going to be the wild card. So not a easy sequence of tracks leading up to the chase.
I love it. I love the Daytona Road Course. Of course, you know me well enough to know what my love is, and a lot of mine is sports car racing. That's where I tend to put my bread and butter here on the channel. So no surprise that I am so excited to see these Cup cars rip and roar around the Daytona Road Course and really see how these drivers get along through. These cars, I've been told that these cars can drive a lot like a GT3. So if you've been running your Mustang GT3s getting prepped for Le Mans, you might have a good time in these cars around the Daytona Road Course.
Now, Brad, you are aware, because I know NASCAR is kind of on the newer end of the spectrum for you, you are aware we are running a variant of that road course, correct?
Oh, I am. I'm aware. But still, it's fine.
Yeah, the very awkward turn 4 oval chicane where you basically have to hit the brakes while driving up 33 degrees of banking, but they did not trust Cup brakes to be able to do turn 1 for a sustained period of time. Wanted to have slower speeds. They accomplished that, but again, that is in 2 weeks' time. But we have a lot of racing here to go. 23 laps. We have been fully green. Weishart and AJ Stravado. Stravado getting tight through 3 and 4, washing up the track. He will clear, though. That is for the 18th spot. But I don't want to create drama, but it is part of my job. It does appear that the gap is just a skosh, a smidgen, a little tidbit smaller. And just as I say that, I think Sebastian heard me and turned the wick up a little bit.
I'm not surprised, honestly. Again, this is one of those that I think this is a cat and mouse game between these two. Marin and Van Drugman, they're playing the cat and mouse game, 25 laps in. Push a little bit here, pull a little bit there, give a little bit of a challenge one way versus the other way, and just see how it plays out and really where it goes. And in the end, one of them will push things further than the other, and who is going to be able to hold out at the end is going to be the game to really see. I'm so excited to see these two up at the front. Of course, Sebastian Marin, just an absolute powerhouse in the iRacing series through, and Van Drugman, 17-year-old up and coming, one to really keep an eye on in the future years coming, and a driver that I definitely think you should keep an eye on here in iRacing. And you've got them separated by about half a second here around Darlington. Could be a good one.
Absolutely. Here's, we got some racing going on. Dylan Alt trying to work his way through the field. Again, he did not start favorably down there in 28th, has himself up to 16th. Again, with no assistance from the caution flag. And that takes me back. I don't remember if you were with me for that one, Brad. I don't think you were, but the Indianapolis race here in the Area Cup Series, we did run flag to flag as well, as Helton kissing the wall, as I think perhaps Forbes as well. That race did go flag to flag. Sebastian Marin did have an EOL in that race and managed to drive into the top 5, only about 5 seconds behind the leader for the overall win, without the assistance of a caution flag. So obviously here at Darlington, that is going to be quite the feat. But Dylan Alt, he's got himself up 12 spots, still only within 10 seconds of the leader here, as we're still very early in tonight's race.
That's the thing, looking through the fun of the longest race of the season, is that, well, 28 laps ain't nothing. You know, we saw Travis Beckner spin earlier, and the thing to remember with that is the fact that Travis Beckner still has plenty of time to come back and figure it out.
Well, maybe he is going to be dependent on the facilitation of a caution flag. He's 25 seconds back, so he is only about 5 seconds from going one lap down, and he has a wealth of real estate before he catches up to the next competitor. Actually, not a wealth, but he's running the Darlington chicane there off of 4, getting really loose. And yeah, we do apologize for the solar angle there. The cameras just pick up the exposure in a kind of an awkward situation. That'll be fixed next year with the iRacing new graphics engine. But just looking at the field, trying to find some good battles. Stravato and John Forbes. And again, just to also bring up some partners of here in area with the Rookie of the Year battle. You can check out rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made in South Florida. Lokahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, and South Beach Heat. And again, $100 going to the Rookie of the Year, sponsored by Rick's in this very Cup Series. So there is some rookie stripes there on Jacob Harbert's car, and he's had his fair share of solid runs this season as well.
There's a lot of rookie drivers here, just looking through the sheet here, and everyone who has the potential to get a Rookie of the Year contention through. Zachary Carr, David Brown, Liam Sheen, AJ Stravato, John Forbes Jr., Joseph Kazi. Sebastian Marin is a Cup rookie, if you can believe that or not, here in the Area Cup Series presented by the Studio Temporary. Logan Helton, Van Drugman is a rookie as well. Rocky Boyd, Cole Hooper, Jacob Harberts, Gavin Rogers, Nico Servideo, Jake Fisher, Nerney, Jarrett Tallmage, Timmy Pacioli, Jack Mace, Alex McCollum, Brandon Watkins, Lake Bradshaw. They are all competing for the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year go. And, well, I mean, I have my idea on who the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year contender should be. And, I mean,
I'd put my FanDuel bets on that, but in case Sebastian has a hardware failure, I don't know if I'll get a refund on it. I don't know if you heard that story, Brad. Obviously, in the Cup race yesterday, I don't think it's a spoiler at this point. There was a 3-wide battle for the 5th position, and they had scored SVG in 7th. So if anybody put wagers on SVG getting a top 5, they weren't going to get paid out. But then NASCAR corrected the scoring and put him in 5th. But FanDuel said, no, whatever NASCAR called at the stripe, that's what your bets are based on. And
wrong.
Yeah, those people are out their money. So if you're in that category, go file a class action. I'd love to join and maybe get a $20 check in about 3 years. But that's why I don't condone sports betting. mainly because I know I'd get addicted to it, so I just play nice. Who's not playing nice is Seth Knoll, who is passing Brent Punkari. Now, where did Seth start here in today's race? He started that there in the 29th spot, so he has worked his way up the field in this pseudo Wood Brothers number 1 Ford Mustang.
It's interesting to see these drivers all work their way up and down the field here. Here we go. Battle for position just up ahead. Drivers working themselves through and trying to keep a challenge. That's the 45. Patrick Moose going through with James Scioli, who is trying to have a run in what looks like a Kyle Larson-esque inspired car, if I had to guess.
I mean, I guess it really depends because, you know, it could be a Larson car. It also could be a Spire car. Of course, the number 7, run by a myriad of drivers. Of course, Kyle Busch in the Truck Series for his last win, but I can't think of who else runs it in the Nope Series, but Spire number 7 also. Of course, Kyle Larson as well. One of my biggest gripes, and it's not anything to do with the liveries, the paint schemes, the design teams. Liveries, I know. There's nothing that irks me, nothing more that grinds my gears than doing a spoof on a paint scheme and having the wrong manufacturer. See a Larson Ford just, I don't know, man. Actually, let's go back and check Connor Horn. He was driving a Gordon car. Gordon's always my boy growing up. All right, at least Connor Horn's driving a Chevy, so, man, he's getting squeezed in the wall, I think, by Logan Helton, perhaps entering corner 1.
Listen, sometimes you have to make sure, depending on what you're driving, you got to make sure that you're driving the right thing that your team designates. There's not always the choice of what you get to run. Sometimes you're just stuck in the position that you're in, and sometimes it, you know, it makes things interesting. It makes the broadcast upset because you can't go through and run different things. I'm board with Adam Cabot. Look at the tire fall off right now. We're sitting at a second of fall off, only 40 laps in as he gets right on the back of the 45. Patrick Moose thought he was getting ready to boot the Moose out and away.
Interesting. You know what I'm surprised at, Brad? How have we gone now 9 races and I have not made a cheese joke about Adam Cabot? Cabot is a brand of... Cabot is a brand... maybe it's localized, but we have Cabot brand shredded cheese here in New England at least. Maybe it's a localized thing, but... All right, maybe... Okay, that's just me. You can buy your Sargento, your store brand, but you can also buy Cabot brand cheese here in New England. So, all right, it's a local farm. Okay. Let alone. Never mind. I won't make the joke. But we're just going through the field here as there's Helton going through. And, I mean, this is a good race, I guess, to really give some airtime to drivers who don't traditionally get it. Of course, I'll just follow up on the leader because... And I know you're a victim of this too, Brad, with your road racing. Sometimes when the leader is just stinking up the show, it's, you know, we don't want to discredit what the leader does, but it almost makes us forget about him because there's nothing really to show. But, of course, Marin out there just holding a steady gap, 7/10 over Van Drugman. And Jake Nichols has fallen back about 4.5 seconds. Quite the gap, second to third.
I mean, realistically, this is exactly what Marin needs to do, though. Hold that gap about 1/2 second to 3/4 of a second. Let it fluctuate. Don't let Van Drugman get so close he gets into a draft. He gets any sort of thought of getting close to you, but don't pull off so far away that you kind of put yourself in a bad position later. You overcook the tires. You outdrive yourself, whatever it may be. Just settle in right there where you're at and let everything flow how it may. Move down the inside here from the number 1, Adam Cabot getting... Or sorry, Seth Noel getting past Patrick Moose there. Adam Cabot's already stone through clear.
No, we were doing so good. I know you're more inconsistent this series, Brad, but I was doing so good saying Seth Noel. I butchered it all last season. But I, especially with the drivers up front, I do want to make sure that names I talk about frequently we do get on the correct pronunciation side. Josh Caudell, the 13. I haven't really talked about him here today, but he is solidly in the top 10. And he is 20th in the points. He lost 5 positions in the points after last week's race. So he needs to solidify himself in a good position. Currently, what is it, 40 points, 41 points out of that cut line for the chase. So when it comes to the chase, we do have, I'd say, 3 drivers who are 15 points or less above it. And then we have 4 drivers who I'd say are 20 points or so below it. So there's probably a good fluctuation of about 8 drivers that, depending on their runs, both here and at the next 3 or 4 races, their chase situation may not be cemented.
Yeah, the chase, here's the fun thing with the chase. It's not cemented till it's cemented, but even when it is cemented, you can lose it very, very quickly. So you have to just make sure that you're on your P's and Q's the whole way through. We talked about it earlier with the points, especially, you know, looking at Van Drugman. That's one of the drivers, you know, who's had such a dominant season through 4 wins, 5 top 5s, and he's sitting in 4th in the points right now because the fact of the matter is Scioli, Knoll, and Nichols had just been consistent.
Seth Knoll squeezing by is that Adam Cabot? And I will say, our boy Zach Nerney, he is backing me up and saying that Cabot cheese is sold at major grocery chains and retailers, Food Lion, Kroger, Target, Publix, Walmart. So it just shows you don't buy a lot of cheese, or perhaps you just buy the store brand. But Cabot is a nationwide brand.
Listen, I know what I buy every time I go in. Actually, I don't even go in anymore, to be honest. I do a lot of getting my groceries delivered, which I have a gripe on that. That's a whole other story. Yeah, I do Kraft American Squares and then taco blend cheese. If I do shredded, it's always the taco blend.
My wife actually, I bought my wife that TikTok cheese shredder off the TikTok shop 2 years ago. Works fabulously. We buy ourselves a block of cheese, fresh shredded cheese. It actually does melt way better, especially on Taco Tuesday. So you gotta put the investment in the work in, but a little bit of work can lead to positive results, which is now a 1-second lead. And now we brought up the lap time differential, the fall off with a few drivers, but let's bring it up with the guy who is just in cruise control right now. And that is 1.2 seconds. I'm going to have to use my brain, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. We're 50 laps in, Brad, so a 200-lap race, I guess theoretically you could just put it into even quarters by pitting right now. I would say probably 70-something laps would probably be the fuel run maximum. But we do actually have some pit stops right now. Travis Beckner in, Jacob Bell in, Rocky Boyd. Frankie Barroso has already made a pit stop. And as I said, Brad, this is the hardest pit lane to get onto. We saw a lot of drivers struggle at Nashville in the real world, but Darlington, almost a blind entry coming off the flat. So hopefully these drivers practice that green flag stop.
That's the one thing I always preach week after week is practice your green flag stops and make sure that you know when you get into a green flag stop what you're doing, because it is so easy to ruin your race from the error of a green flag stop. I'll say it the nice way. So one of the things that these drivers really, really have to make sure that they've done is prep their way through for a green flag stop. And, well, it's very quick to show who has and who hasn't, and just who does things right, who does things wrong.
I don't think I've ever covered a Darlington race, and I've been doing this for a long time, of course, since 2017 here on PTRTV. I don't think I've ever covered a race at Darlington where nobody screwed up a green flag cycle. It's almost inevitable somebody will miss it here. And someone who's getting a lot of TV time is James Scioli, 7th car in the 7th spot, diving to the bottom. In the real world, you can run down there on the flat kind of as a 4th lane below that hash mark. Doesn't work too well in the sim, but he did do a Darlington diver, and he'll clear Tallmadge in the 07. Just ahead of that, you have Jacob Harberts making some headway, closing in on the Publix car. where you can buy your Cabot cheese of Drew Jua. And I think David Weishart may have just made a pit stop exiting on the racetrack now.
That I believe he did here.
Oh, yeah, Superman mode. Look at him go.
Yeah, look at this.
Helton,
so amazing to see the difference in tires.
Helton and the Moose battling here. And I'm not sure who the passer or the passee was, but it does appear Helton will get the run. Something we haven't had to talk about, Brad, that I usually always talk about here in our Darlington races is Darlington etiquette. You know, back in the day, because I'm an old fat, as somebody lighting the tires up here, that's Hayden Swank. Let me just validate. Was that him? It was. So it worked, so we can't say it's what not to do, but here is the high-risk pit entry. That's going to be a penalty. He missed the cone, so he should have stayed out and just took the L. He's going to get penalized for an unsafe pit entry. I am 97% sure. But to finish my point, Darlington etiquette. Back in the 90s, you know, you didn't run side by side into turn 1. Now they do. You didn't run side by side off of turn 2. Now they do. And there was just certain times where you let someone go, more so for survival's sake. So. Kind of just saw a little bit of that coming into play here, but these drivers are so spread out, we really haven't had to push that etiquette too far.
Yeah, that we haven't. And whenever you don't have to push the etiquette too far, it's always very, very nice to see, we have to be honest. It is very, very good to see how the drivers handle things through where that etiquette hits. And, well, to see that Jarrett Talmage forgot to fill out the spreadsheet.
It's always, you know, I kind of remember in the back of my head as opposed to the front of my head or wherever else you remember stuff, who didn't fill it out and tried not to pull them up, but spent a little bit of time, so it fell off. But Seth Noel, again, I know he already pulled up where he started, but I already forgot, so I got to do it again. 29th to 7th, and he is running laps that match Sebastian Marin, or very close to it. Marin had a 666 last time by. The 66 just ran a 36.66, go figure. But Noel not too far back, and he was in traffic. So if Seth Noel can get maybe a caution flag and get a few extra positions, he may be one of the Lone Rangers that can compete with that 66.
Definitely possible, and, you know,
here's the cheese.
There's still plenty of... Oh, let's see how this one goes. That looks fast on entry.
Now, it was put into the iRacing dev blog that upon the next build, which will be next week as a matter of fact, that they are going to be tightening up the pit road speed limit rules. So I don't know if that might pass this week. I don't know if it'll pass next week. So, but starting to have pit stops here at lap number 60. And then just, of course, to bring up other partners here with the league. I usually bring up Michael Curhan for this one, but I don't think he's here today. If he is, we didn't see him. But again, oh no, he is here. He's in 16. I actually have him on the screen and I couldn't find him. That just shows how under the weather I am. But look at that spiffy hat that Curhan has. If you want that hat or other area merch, you can head to shop.areairacing.com for high quality merch at low prices. Check out a brand new selection of t-shirts, hats, Adidas clothing, and other accessories. Easy to shop, quicker to ship, better to wear at shop.areairacing.com. And you can be like Mike. You don't have to have special shoes. Oh, here we go. Van Drugband pulling it down. He wanted to get the undercut on Sebastian. I mean, it'll gain him a second, but I will bet, not on fanduels.com, but I will make a massive bet that Sebastian's going to pull it in the pits this time by to try to minimize any undercut that Van Drugband can accomplish.
I don't blame him. That's, you know, one of the things I will say is I don't blame him in that decision at all if he is looking to do that. So because you've got to make sure that you have everything together and ready to go, and well, I would say that's a pretty cautious entry. Yeah, I think that was safe.
He could spare it though. He had the lead, so why not?
Yeah, no sense in doing anything unnecessary.
but this is going to be one of the riskier times in the race. Of course, we have been green all 64 laps thus far. We had one scare of a caution with Travis Beckner on the opening few laps, but it was well off the racing surface, did not constitute a yellow. But we're going to have the comers and goers effect, Brad. About a second and a half of speed differential between the new tires, passing the guys who have yet to pit. And at a narrow track, this could be the first caution of the race. And if you are not complete with your cycle and you're stuck, a lap down when the caution comes out, we've seen it trap many drivers this season.
That we have. It is just the nature of how things go. And well, when that happens, it's heartbreaking. Like, that is, I hate to say it, there's not a better way to phrase it, but it can be heartbreaking and just frustrating, and there's nothing you can do about it in that regard except for just leave it be and kind of just, you have to accept it for what it is. It's, it's frustrating, but it's the nature of racing, and you just, nothing else we can do. 73 in here now, and
I would love to say I could do a Ward Burton accent because I know that's what this car is, but I could hardly do a Bostonian accent, and I live in Massachusetts. I am not going to try to do a Ward Burton accent. Oh, this is where we need dirt, but the dirt usually covers the Tuesday races. Of course, repping the cat car for Jake Nichols, but Scioli still on the track, and as we hit lap number 6, 7, and we'll just refresh the stints here so you can see once they update where your favorite drivers may be in their cycle. And you can see at least 13, 15 drivers or so yet to make their initial stop.
Kind of impressive to see over all of these different drivers that have yet to make their stop and are just continuing to run through. I really thought a lot more of these drivers would be in by now, especially once the leaders started to kick their way in. I really thought I would see a lot of people follow suit, but it goes to show just what variants of strategy all of these drivers are deciding to run. And well, it goes to show that, strategy can be king at the end of the day if you play your cards right.
Now let's go back to the front of the pack and see where the differential is going to be as Harbert's coming in along with Jarrett Talmadge. Let's see where the differentiation is between Marin and Van Drugband. It is not too far. Let's see here. About 1.5 seconds. It's not the car directly in the front shot. You can see the purple car in the middle of 3 and 4. So that will be our difference, and that's not too far away from what the difference was prior to the pit cycle here. Is Dylan Alt peeling on in. Seth Knoll.
Looking to see here as drivers come in how things are shaking up through. You still have a multitude of cars that still need to pit in. Your top 6 really still need to find their way into the box here. They're not that far off.
A smooth entry from Scioli. Now, again, it just kind of makes you wonder what the long play is here, because obviously we are leaning heavily towards this having a full green flag perspective. So if you pit now, lap 70, I guess you pit around maybe 130 to 140, and you do a 2-stop race. But then you have drivers such as, Marin, who pitted 6 laps ago, maybe at lap 65. I guess you could still do it as a 2-stop race. It's just going to be a matter of how long do you stretch the tires for.
I think tires, I don't know what the best option is for stretching tires out. You definitely have to be willing to run those out for some time, though, which is, you're asking for a lot in that situation. But drivers will do a lot of crazy things if they think it gives them the chance to get a win. So you just sort of have to sit back and wait and see where it plays out, because drivers will do a lot of crazy things. As I said, if they think it will net them a win through, they will continue to run it along and just let it be.
Absolutely. Now, we didn't fully. Whoa, I'm assuming that was a wiggle, or is that prep for a pit stop by Jua? I think it's a little bit of A and a little bit of B. Indeed the case here. Peeling off the banking. You can kind of use that yellow line as your reference. And that was a good solid entry. Really only one faux pas on that. I think that was Hayden Swank. And Hayden Swank, I believe it was him. He is now out of the race. Just took it behind the wall. I don't know if that was instigated by that black flag or if other circumstances happened, but that is the case here. Lap 3, remember that incident with Travis Beckner and the 30 of Jeremy Miller, 67 of Connor Horn. Quote-unquote suspicious activity that needs further investigation, so we don't know what's happening there. Or do we? No, plus two incident points going to the 28 and the 30. And then on lap 6, 2 incident points going to this driver of John Forbes, but I don't think we caught what happened there, but still a couple incidents here as Punkari damaging the car. He is the leader at present, though. Not for much longer.
Yeah, we did not catch what happened there, so interesting to see. You know, even though this race has seemed sort of, you know, polite so far, race control's still definitely busy and keeping things going along, which is always exciting to watch and see how race control handles these races, especially when it's times like this where we're sort of just like, all right, full green flag run. It's a reminder that there's still plenty of things going on in the background that we may not necessarily be 100% privy to.
Yeah, it's not always a night off just because the race is clean and green. Stuff is happening all around this 1 1/3 mile egg-shaped oval. Again, talking about some of our partners here with Area Blue Tip Pool Builders. There's Ryan Swan in the 30th position. But you can bring your backyard to life this summer with Blue Tip Pools. They can customize your pool to your aesthetic with their skilled craftsmen and their cutting-edge tech. If you don't have space for a pool, they can do dynamic lounging, outdoor spaces, outdoor kitchens, and make your space come to life. Head to bluetippools.com. Struggling to make the pass there. Swan is, I believe, who is that in front of him? That's the 33 of AJ Stravato. That is not for position. Christian DeBoer in the pits. And now finally, we have headed back to our normal running order. Sebastian Marin up by now 3 seconds over Van Drugman, and Seth Knoll has cycled to the 3rd spot, jumping over Jake Nichols. And the interesting part here, Brad, is that Seth Knoll, again, he's driven through the field like a boss, but he actually has the freshest tires of anybody up front.
Yeah, and driving through the field all the way along, having the freshest tires through, it's so interesting to see how he's done. He's up 26 positions on the day here, Seth Knoll, and just keeping that smooth consistency has been the key along. 11.8 seconds the gap right now to Van Drugman and Marin, with 3.2 seconds between Van Drugman and Marin themselves. But plenty of time to still close things up, and if he can do so, I think it'll put him in a wonderful position to try to push a little bit further.
Absolutely, and while our cycle has completed, to be as good a time as ever to go take a little break here, enjoy our random autocross clips, copyright-free racing footage as we go side by side. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. And we're back here on PTRTV in the Area Cup Series presented by the Studio Temporary, round number 9 here at the Darlington Raceway. Myself, Corey Silva in the booth, and Brad Dalton here also helping out. And we have... Never mind, Brad.
What?
Oh, no, that's Van Drugmond.
Oh, my gosh.
Just going to say, we've run green flag the entirety of the race, and just as we come back from break, that ended. Now, Van Drugmond, let's see, that's the Alaskan Assassin. That's Justin Anasogak here. We'll have to go on board. Now, the beauty, I think for the 56 did he actually hit anything? I don't think he did. So he didn't really lose too, he lost like 7 or 8 spots, but get one more look at this. Oh yeah, he got into the 69 there on corner exit. And just kind of a little sissy spin for both of them. It could have been a lot worse, especially spinning back up into the racetrack. But if there's one good thing there in that situation, Brad, it's be predictable. And he stayed put so that people knew where he was or was not going. But anywho,
absolutely.
Luke Bryan kicking the dust up here as everybody coming back to pit road for another set of tires.
And everybody coming through, those fresh tires are going to make such a big difference here for the drivers, which is going to be very important for them here today. Look
at that gap that Sebastian Barron has. He could literally take 4 tires, probably fix 20 seconds of damage, and still exit the pits first. That's how big of a lead he has, especially with Van Drugmond now being taken out of second. But this will put Seth Knoll, in a super favorable position. Talked about earlier, he was one of the only ones able to match pace with Marin. Now he's going to be in super good track position, presumably, and on even tires. Maybe not super good track position, but he'll be 4th, which is, I guess, a lot better than 20-something where he was earlier.
Yeah, that's a very, very good position to be in here for him in order to try to move forward, try to make a difference here. It's going to be interesting to see how this caution shakes things up as we're lap 88 of 200. It's going to close things up, make things interesting. I still just Marin, league of his own up in the front.
Now something of interest here. 2nd place, the Cheese being cheeky here. Presumably 2 tires with a 9.8 second pit stop. That moves him up to P2. So we'll see how that fires off as some wave rounds going by here. Ryan Swan, Tyler Nichols, the boss man, Jacob Bell, Anna Sogak. He was just in that. All these drivers getting a lap back, Brad, but they're going to be, at least 10, 15, 20 laps into their stint, hoping for another caution to where they can reset.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a saying that comes to mind right now, Corey, and I almost don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to put this into reality, but there is a saying that goes into that you and me know so well.
Are the acronyms of it YBY?
Yes, or CBC.
All right, yeah, fair enough. But the pace truck will pull the hard left into the pits. Cabot on the 2 tires to the outside of our race leader, Sebastian Marin, who has not put a foot astray here today. All but the perfect race. But we're still not even halfway. On the loud pedal, taking lap number 90. Hole shot going to the 66. When Jake Nichols looking to get underneath Cabot for the 2nd spot. How will those 2 tires hang on? Cabot trying to put a fight up on that outside lane, and he will do that off the tight turn number 2, battling on the outside. And Brad, I think just using the acronyms, that was enough.
Oh my gosh, what have we done? What have we done?
Well, we have a sideways moose. Let's see why.
Well,
why do we have a sideways moose?
Let's find out.
56 of Van Drugman, all in the wall. Oh, he got hooked by Stravado. Hard impact for Connor Horn, Josh Caudell as well. We'll get one more look at that, because there was kind of a good stack up just in front of Moose here. You can see, oh yeah, the tall Madge into alt shoved him into the wall. And then Connor Horn just absolute blindsided and then hit again from Caudell. I think Connor Horn got the worst end of that caution.
Goodness gracious, that's a rough hit there going through. Unfortunate to see, but well, that's racing, I think, is the best way to phrase that. Sometimes things just happen that you can't do anything about it.
But a whole bunch of happy drivers, and those are those wave arounds, about 7 or so drivers who had to take the wave around, get back on the lead lap. Now they can do that. Now they can catch up, and now they can get on even tires comparative to the field. So that is the absolute best case scenario for anybody who was in that strategy here as we approach the halfway point. And of course, Travis Beckner, who was the first caution that wasn't a caution, but he is now one lap down. Hendry County Racing will be back on June 6th at Hendry County Motorsports Park with open wheel mods, V8 Warriors, and more. Tickets $20 for adults. Discounted prices for seniors, teens, and kids age 5 and under get in free. Come to the southernmost dirt track in America in Clewiston, Florida, off US 27 at HendryRacing.com.
Hendry County always has good racing. They're so much fun. So if you are down in southern Florida looking for something to do, highly recommend them.
Well, I've never actually looked on the map. I know they say the southernmost, so I imagine it has to be pretty close to Miami, I would imagine. Because we're under yellow, I'm a look. Voice was not ready to do that sound. Oh, it's actually... So there's that huge lake, Lake Okeechobee. I was about to just call it like the eyeball of Florida because I didn't know what it was called, but it is Lake Okeechobee. It's on the southwestern side of Lake Okeechobee. I'm actually shocked that's the southernmost dirt track. There's a lot of space down there. I'm shocked there's nothing in Miami, but evidently not. So that's where Clewiston is in case you needed to pass a geography test. Say that you got the answer from me, but we are on 1 to green. And Jake Nichols will start to the outside. Cabot on the 2 tires. He'll be to the inside following Marin. And again, Seth Knoll, who is the one that I am most looking at here on the second half of this race outside of row 2.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out for these drivers as they get ready to go. This is going to be one of those that it's either going to go really well for someone or it's going to go really wrong for someone, and I don't have a solid answer for which way that's going to go, but all you can really do is sit back and watch and wait and see what happens as we get through. Barney has the green flag, and we are going here. Seth Noel with a great restart there. 2 by 2, everyone behind.
They try to funnel out. We didn't get going last time by, but will we get ourselves situated back through and get ourselves a solid run up front? Anyways, we've largely sorted out, but here's Noel underneath Cabot. Again, Cabot on 2 tires, does a Darlington diver. Trying to slide up and clear, he will. Noel up to P3. With James Scioli next there trying to make something happen. He's looking. Will he dive it on in there? He will. Again, that's not normal Darlington etiquette, but he's going to try to make it happen, and hopefully they can manage to squeeze it off a 2.
And squeeze it off a 2 they do, but still squeezing along. Nonetheless, almost going 3 wide for a second, but opting to not do such a thing, thankfully, because I think that would not have ended well for anyone up here in the front. They get into a single file go, and it looks like right now Jacob Harberts was sitting for a split second off to the side, but now goes back into line as well, and well, everyone trying to play pretty here for a little bit.
In line here, this is where the dirty air is probably the worst, but many drivers struggling with that turn 2 wall. That purple car looking to the inside, that's Jarrett Tallmadge for the 9th spot underneath Logan Helton in the M&M's Camry. The Joe Camry, as it may be, to the outside. And that battle will cease, but I guess here is what we're looking for. It was Van Drugman second for the vast majority of the race. Now it's Jake Nichols in second, and he is still within 2/10. But that's not what Marin did. Marin didn't just shoot out to a lead. He extended it very slowly. Half a tenth here, half a tenth there, and then it just slowly built up to about 2 seconds. But we'll see if perhaps as the rubber's going down here, as the track temp changing here at Darlington, as the lights will inevitably come on pretty soon, if that will maybe affect Marin's car at all.
It might not. It's very much a case of 50-50, I have to say, for if it's going to affect him, how it'll affect him, if anything will affect him in the long run here as this evening pushes its way through and we hit officially half race distance, 100 laps up, 100 laps down, and that is impressive to say at this point, considering we just crossed the 10 o'clock hour.
You're a lap ahead of me?
Probably, yeah.
All right, I just made sure I wasn't on replay mode because now I have 99. Now we're headed to lap 100, so, well, I can't say I've called a white flag call wrong in my life, so, because I have. But Jake Nichols not letting go of Marin. And again, this is obviously harder for Nichols because he has to drive through the dirty air, which is further going to abuse those Goodyear Eagles. And the long run pace would certainly go to Marin's benefit. But here in 3 and 4, you can see Marin wrapping that hash mark and Nichols trying to run a higher lane, trying to get in that clean air. But something we're already noticing, Brad, look here through 1 and 2. We are still bright sunshine, maximum track temp. But you can see the sun going down over the grandstands. 3 and 4 largely in shade, and that will give more grip on that end of the raceway.
Yeah, that extra grip is going to make such a big difference as well. It's going to be a weird feeling in the car, honestly, when you're going through and you hit one side of the track and, well, the turn reacts one way, and then you get to the other side of the track and it reacts the other way, but you're expecting it to react the way it just did on the other side of the track. It takes a lot to really get used to that as you go through the long runs of this race. Again, you hit the way through and you're really expecting it to always be the same, but you've got to adapt because as we go, this race changes, this track changes, and things will just feel different.
Absolutely, as we are now past halfway, and let's just follow up on our blue tip weather. 78. So the track temp has, I think, gone up, but the air temp gone down. But 741, we are racing off of the actual June 1st race date here as Van Druggen into the wall. So I don't know what sunset is in Darlington in June, but I would imagine it's going to be within about a half hour. So we will, as we estimate 48 minutes of racing left, we will be under the lights. I'm 97% positive. And that will, again, further raise those lap times as this race carries on. But looks as though Nichols, he stayed true about 2/10, got it into the 1/10 bracket for about a lap or two. But this is what I talked about. Marin doesn't just zoom out into no man's land. He just, each lap, just a skosh faster, and you can tell the lead did peak at about half a second for a brief moment.
And that brief moment of seeing things go through, I don't want to call it a false confidence, but it's a confidence. Whenever you're in that position, you can start to see that go through. It gives you a little bit of just ooh, here we go. We're seeing the opportunity, but then you have to remember it's Sebastian Marin. I don't know what I just said. I don't know what I did.
I think I added
there we go.
I think I added an extra ooh. We want to thank our YouTube chat. And we have 2 people thinking that Rocky Boyd is going to be victorious here at the Darlington Raceway. Rocky Boyd currently running in the 21st position on the lead lap. Technically up 12 positions here on the day. So, the Rocky Boyd fans, again, as we joke about FanDuel's bets, that'd be a long shot, but it'd pay pretty nicely if it was to come to fruition. Here's a good battle going on. That's Stravato tried to dive underneath Michael Curhan there, but that battle was not meant to be. And huge contact from Van Drugman off of the corner. Sometimes it ends up being net code when the simulator kind of estimates that there was wall contact, but you can tell. Certainly, there's certain impacts that there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like that was one of them. Van Drugman smacked that wall.
Every once in a while, you see those big hits, and when you see them, you feel them, and you just have to wonder how the driver handles that through. If you're not careful, and if the impact is a little bit too much, too hard, too far, too fast.
That's another one.
I mean, yeah, it's. I know we talk about getting your Darlington stripes, but doggone, some of these drivers take that a bit too literally every once in a while.
Well, there's Jarrett Talmadge getting himself one, and I mean that car looks okay. Oh, it's a little scuffed up, which you'd expect it to be, but you're trying to recover from that issue with the slower car of Justin Anasogak. It was that brought out our first caution around lap number 85. Now, I will say I'm keeping an eye on the gap up front, and there are laps it does go down very briefly into the 0.2 of a second bracket. Then it goes up to about a half second, so there's a big ebb and flow here. But I guess the important thing is that Jake isn't letting him breathe. He still has to pay attention. He still has to be on his game, does Marin, which hasn't been something he's really had to say all night up to this point.
Yeah, and
caution.
Seeing Marin, I
believe it's Christian DeBoer. So we will try to lost it off of 4 all by his lonesome, and it was that right-hand hook onto the racing surface that Barney can't hide from Barney when you're right in his perspective.
Yep, that is Barney being extra picky. Sometimes Barney falls asleep at Darlington, and sometimes Barney will see something for a millisecond and decide that it is a bit too much. So in that situation, 'twas the latter.
Now this is not a surefire decision to make. So most drivers have taken 2 sets of tires. So that means they have 2 more sets. So pitting now, that means you lose a strategy set because you will need 1 more stop for fuel. So it's always kind of fun and nice to have that strategy set, as we call it. But by pitting now and changing tires now, you're basically giving yourself, my fuel stop to the end is going to be my last set of tires. So it doesn't look like anybody's staying out. So this will really prove to be a tire-saving race, it so appears. But let's see who wins the race off pit road.
Let's find out here, as we have a lot of drivers in. Who is going to do what in strategy, I think, is also something we got to think about. Is anyone going to roll the dice? I'd be very surprised if anyone does here.
Cabot,
9.9 seconds in the box.
Did he take lefts? I very seldom do this and validate a pit stop, but I'm actually super curious. No. He took rights again. So that means he has... Now in iRacing, as in the real world, tires are staggered, so you can't put your lefts on the right sides. They're not even in that capacity. But actually, is he coming back to the pits? Did he get penalized? Not showing a penalty. Interesting.
Did he have something misconfigured?
Because as I was saying, he would have had 2 extra sets of left side tires, and in oval racing, there is very, very, very seldom a time where you want to put left side tires on. So perhaps he's going to come in now and take the lefts and even it out. Yeah, that's what he's doing. So that is a costly mistake. It's going to put him back in the mid-20s when he was a top 5 driver.
And that hurts significantly. Little moments like that, too. You have no one to blame but yourself. and that is the worst position to find yourself in.
And Philip Groner was also issued a black flag. Not sure what it was for, but that'll put him at least tail end there in 30th. And for his sake, hopefully it's not one that he has to clear under green flag conditions. But in same positions up front, Marin to the inside, Nichols to the outside, Seth Knoll in third, and Scioli outside of row number 2. Back into the restart box, green flag in the air, and Knoll got himself a really good jump following Marin. He is going to clear up to P2. Again, I think he's the only one that can really compete with Marin. Let's see if my thesis is accurate. Oh,
it
no.
It does look...
Big jump.
Oh, my gosh.
Did they save
somehow
it somehow?
We're still green. For now, at least.
Somehow they saved that. I have no idea. There's David Brown back of the shot there. And yeah, somehow, again, just the way that Barney calls it here at Darlington, he let him play, so we stay under green flag. But here we go. Seth Knoll looking to the outside, trying to cut to the bottom and get a good run off of 4. And he will do a decent job at that goal. Of course, Jake Nichols wasn't falling too far back either, so we know he has speed. And now Jacob Harbert's in the 80 car. The Sim Motion Camaro, highest he's been on the day. And then look at that 70 of John Forbes. Haven't talked about him really at all. He's now in the top 5 in the 70.
Heading up into the top 5 for John Forbes Jr. Good position to find himself in here on the season as we're down into approaching 80 laps to go. Sunsetting. Darlington proving challenging, and well, the single file run here, everyone trying to avoid getting their stripes, but well, what do we see here? A lot of drivers bumping the wheel on the exit of 2 and back in the back. A lot of drivers getting wiggly, going all the way down to the bottom on the back stretch.
Yeah, seeing some of that Darlington chicane. That's what I like to say whenever someone gets loose off the corner and just goes super low in the straightaways. I kind of joke that they're running the oval chicane there, but all jokes aside, good saving, keeping those cars in one piece. But Knoll doing a good job there. May have kissed the wall, may have been just connectivity, not quite sure. But again, this is the difference. Marin, again, going right down to the bottom of the track. Knoll trying to get that clean air of the nose up top. But here is what is interesting, Brad, about track temp. Marin just clutched it.
Yep.
So, but what I was saying was I got starkly surprised is when the track cools down, a lot of times you lose your multi-groove ability because now there'll be more grip to where the geometrically shorter line, just there's no reason not to run it. So that may make passing a little bit more difficult.
As if passing wasn't already proving to be somewhat difficult. Here's John Forbes Jr. wants to make a liar out of me with that statement there. John Forbes Jr. down the inside to find 4th place here and move forward. And we'll see, can Jacob Harberts get a pass back here to the inside and return the favors. Going to go low, squeeze a bit more here. It's like we're making orange juice or lemonade, I guess, depending on what you prefer to squeeze through, side by side down the front stretch. And yes, we are at Darlington. They're racing hard. Oh, bit of contact.
I was actually going to go with jelly personally because I usually use the squeeze jelly containers there, but yes, a lot of squeeze play nonetheless. But Forbes still in the 5th spot through all of that hoopla. A little bit further back, David Weishart and Michael Curhan. This is just outside the top 10, 11th and 12th. Jarrett Talmadge in that purple car last in the top 10 in that 07. So we are 122 laps into our race. And of course, actually, well, I've covered all the bases here today. So I don't have to do any more ad reads. I read them all. So But it's been a great race. We'll save on our race recap till later just to see if there's anything worth guessing about. But Seth Knoll driving right to the rear decklet of Sebastian Marin. First genuine challenge for the lead all night.
Crazy to see this challenge continuing its way forward, and the fact that we're into the first challenge of the night tells me that there is a chink in the armor here of Sebastian Marin. It's the first time we're really seeing the pressure build, but here's the thing. Again, this could all just be a big facade. This could be just Sebastian Marin playing the game and saying, you know what, guys, go ahead, get a little bit closer to me. I'm just saving a little bit. Y'all want to get this close? You want to run forward and run your things out? Let's do it. Let's have fun with it. And then, well, it's all going to be all for moot.
Well, we saw and heard Sebastian clutching here. Now I'm on board here. There's that sun we were talking about there as nighttime does approach here at Darlington, but no saving being done by Jake Nichols. And mathematics to the end. We are 75, 76 laps to go. That would be an 88-lap run to the checkers, if that is indeed what the plan is here, as we do have some massive hodgepodging here. That's Van Drugman, who's still trying to recover. Jacob Harberts, I'm not sure what happened to him, if he made some wall contact there, but he's all the way down to the flat, bleeding positions.
Dial up an instant replay here, and let's take a look at how this happened.
There is Helton all the way down to the bottom. Here's Van Drugman's contact there to the left rear. Did that contact from the left rear break that car? That would be very strange, but he's in the pits. Will be interesting to see. Again, we know admin is still on call here, even though the racing has been largely green. It'd be interesting to see if anything comes from that, but very strange for that to be a race-changing incident. But dare I say up front, as I lose my voice, which I'm shocked it's been holding through as well as it has, but dare I say up front, it seems almost like Sebastian Marin's holding the field up, but I mean, if he still is saving, I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think Sebastian Marin is really just kind of playing funny business at this point and just doing some saving, holding on a bit, and just really letting this race come to him as opposed to him challenging through. The tire wear making such a big difference in the run that I think he is just really trying to make sure that he saves as much in the tires as he can, so at the end of the race he's got it all there for him.
And I don't envy that position of even trying to save, just knowing what you have to do in a next-gen car, as sensitive as they are to drive, with the downshifting that we're doing, with a track that is 100% on alert. You really don't get much of a break here down the straightaways. To downshift, keep it off the wall, hit your corners, hit your apexes, not lose the lead, and then also try clutching it in without throwing the car off to save fuel. That is a busy, busy workload.
That it is, and you know what? If there's anyone to do it, it would be him. So no surprise at this point to really see everything hanging on for him and keeping this race well and truly alive. More battles further up and down the field here for these drivers as we look further back here towards Mr. 6-7 and the 3 a bit further back here. Tyler Nichols, Connor Horn, Adam Cabot, they're still in a bit of a mix here. Looking at the 17 yet again, who is having some good battles. Up and down the field, there are some good battles going on here on lap 130 of 200. It's just a case of everyone has really settled into their rhythm and is really just kind of following the single file guide at the moment.
As Frankie Barroso, I haven't really talked about him. He's in 13th. He has Justin Anasogak to his arrears. He is only 15 points above the chase line right now, so he can't afford to have too bad of a run and bleed points. But he is doing decent right now, but will decent be enough? He's going to try to get a little bit more if he can in that bubble with Reese Schaefer, who is 13 above. Michael Curhan, only 6 above. Gavin Rogers, 6 below. Cabot, 8 below. So that cut line certainly getting juicy. And something else that's getting juicy and perhaps ready to squeeze is the battle for second. Jake Nichols looking high, looking low. I thought Noel was going to be the one to challenge, but I think maybe Nichols says, all right, you can't do it. It's my turn again.
And as we continue to see the argument basically between these drivers of who's going to challenge Sebastian Marin at the front, Sebastian Marin just good and steady and hanging on and holding through, not doing anything crazy and not really, you know, forcing through. Side by side though, Nichols and Noel who gonna keep through. And again, this is the challenge for second. They're not fighting for the lead, they're fighting for second right now and continuing to push each other along in this second place go. And back in for fourth as well, you have Forbes Jr. and Scioli who are challenging each other and fighting a bit as well.
And look who's back in the chat. Van Drugman, remember, probably the Darlington Stripe leader of the race, had that issue with Anna Sogak that brought out our first caution, and now he is back in the top 5. He had fallen to about a second and a half, nearly 2 seconds of Marin at the worst moment when he was running in second, so he's good, but not good enough. But also, you gotta watch that 70. John Forbes now closing in on Jake Nichols, but now Forbes, as he tries to get spots ahead, has to watch out for Van Drugman behind.
So many good fights up and down through. Van Drugman trying to work back up into the front here, able to work that outside line and get past John Forbes. Now has Seth Knoll and Jake Nichols to get by ahead, who are very, very strong drivers. And well, it doesn't really matter when the entire field is smacking the wall on the exit of 2 and just working that right-hand side of the car. I really wish that in iRacing we could see just how well that stripe develops throughout the long run of a race, because turn 2, some of these drivers just absolutely backhand that wall. It's not even like a gentle smack.
NASCAR 99 on the PlayStation 1 would actually put paint on the wall that was actually matching of your car color. So it was possible back in 1999. So just little interesting tidbits of information here, as that's Jacob Harberts going another lap down after that damage that he did incur. Apparently he was hit and was dead sideways in turn 3, and now he's dead sideways in turn 1. And if he I think he alt F4'd, which means he force closed the iRacing simulator, which
so he didn't cause a caution.
So that's a very respectable move, but what in the heck caused that to start with?
Well, let's see here. He was really low off the corner. Not a lot of, oh my gosh. Okay, well, 6 one way, half dozen the other.
Now, know what we always say would be predictable? No, I don't see why he would block the 70. Was he trying to get out of the way and Forbes went the same way at the same time? That's my only guess, but not what Harberts wants to see. But again, we got to appreciate the Alt F4 exiting the simulator before he went onto the track, both for safety reasons, not to cause a huge wreck, but to also continue the green flag flare of this 200 lapper. Something that we will have to consider at some point, as we are in the window to make it to the end. Now, we saw Marin trying to save. I mean, can he go 60 plus 28, 88 laps? I highly doubt it. But again, this is the risk, Brad. We know there's a second and a half on the table fall-off wise. You can get that tire overcut or undercut, whichever it is. But what if you pit and the caution comes out? It's such a risky decision.
That it is, but you got to roll the dice somewhere. You got to make a decision eventually, and well, I wouldn't want to be the one to make that decision. That's where you're kind of relying on your teammates and your crew and everyone around you to help make that decision and kind of soften that blow for when you make that decision, if it's right or wrong. Looking at this battle for second here, looking at laps. Last time through, fastest of the 3 cars in second, third, and fourth was actually that third place car of Jake Nichols. Not by a lot, but just by enough, about a half a tenth, making all the difference here last time over.
And again, they are just fighting with that dirty air, but Marin not going anywhere. He's staying within a half second, 3/10 of a second here. Now getting by, that is, I believe, actually, I can't quite tell who it is. That's Christian DeBoer getting far to the inside. He's 4 laps down, as we still do have 27 drivers here on the lead lap. We have 3 drivers off the lead lap. Senesac down 3, DeBoer down 4, Swan down 7. Jacob Harbour, it's Philip Gronin, The Moose, Hayden Swank, Garrett Grant, and Jeremy Miller, all retirees here in the Darlington 200. Of course, we'll be live again tomorrow night here, same time, same place.
Oh my gosh.
Jarrett Talmadge, and that will take out all of that strategy. And it's always interesting when they wreck on the straightaway, Brad, because usually that means... Oh, this wasn't on the straightaway. It was kind of exited the corner here, battling with AJ Stravato.
All right, let's take a look here. Down to the inside, trying to get past Stravato. A little bit of contact. The wall saves Stravato, and, well, Stravato returns the favor. Not on purpose, of course, for the record, but just bounces off the wall to come down.
Yeah, I could see just exiting the corner here, getting underneath. Now, did he squeeze it, or did Stravato shut the door? I guess you could probably say a little bit of A, a little bit of B. We'll see what admin decides for the call there, but either way, and this will take out all of the strategy, Brad, because I don't know of anybody, perhaps outside of Cabot, who would have more than one set of tires on the wall, but in Cabot's case, he's going to have an extra set of lefts, which is all but useless. So this is the last set of tires. This has to get you to the end.
Yeah, and it definitely should get you to the end. It's a little bit easier said than done to get you to the end, but it's not going to be impossible. And look at Marin there, tapping a bit there with the number 1 of Seth Knoll as they go into the pits side by side, then get back in single file. And, well, if there's ever a time to make sure you nail a pit stop, it is right here. This is the most important pit stop of the race. And let's see how the drivers nail it. Seth Knoll, very clean in the box. Right side goes up, and, well, I would imagine the left side will go up as well. Looking up and down the pit lane, I would say for everyone, it's going to be right side up, then left side up, and then shake it all about and get your car back on the track.
Absolutely. Admin are calling that incident a racing deal, which I feel is highly appropriate because wasn't really straightforward either way. But here is going to be the battle out of the pits. I mean, Marin hasn't... Oh! Well, before we get too crazy up in her, so Seth Knoll has got out. Wait a second. No.
Wait,
No. Is there... I'm looking to see... Did Sebastian get a black flag? Yeah, we're waiting for the ticker to switch over to 16th. Do we have a black flag logo? Because he is bleeding spots. He doesn't have a black flag logo next to his car. Surely he's not trying to do a last to first challenge with 50 laps to go.
Can I point out something crazy that we missed on this? Van Drugman in the lead, 9.6 second pit stop.
So talk about 2 tires trying to get that track position, but just so many things changing here. We don't have... I don't know what is going on with the 56. He had a normal pit stop. I didn't see on the... Oh, he was given an end-of-line penalty. So I'm not entirely sure what instigated something to do with his pit lane sequence. So, because if it was speeding, it would have been a hold. So I'm not sure what happened, but That is a massive chain of events here to change here in the last 25% here of the Darlington 200. Van Drugman and Seth Knoll on the front row. First time we've had a different control car here on the evening. 2 tires for the 56. How will he fire off? Not amazingly. Knoll trying to get to the outside. He won't be able to clear. Nichols trying to squeeze for second. He'll fall back in line.
Everybody falling into single file through the top 10 here as they need to do to get through these last 52 laps of action. Seth Knoll right now going to put some pressure on Van Drugman, try to go to the inside, want to work the inside through. Fresh tires can make a big difference, but not able to close. A little bit of wiggle on exit. That's going to open up the door for Jake Nichols. Jake Nichols down the stretch will go down the inside and moves up into second place.
Scioli was really close to getting in the back of the 1, but manages to fill in the gap. But Van Drugman up front. And the longer that he can sustain and make the lead happen on these 2 tires, the better it is for longevity, as the 73 hard into the fence, but didn't really hurt him at all. He gets the drive off the corner. Van Drugman into the turn 4 wall. Let's go side by side for the lead here on lap 150. No one's going to give in 1 and 2, and Van Drugman holds off the challenge for now.
I wish I could tell you how Van Drugman is holding on to this lead right now with the tire difference, but genuinely, I can't tell you where the difference in pace is coming from and why it's just enough in order to challenge for the lead here and hold on to it. But you know what, for Van Drugman, if you can make it work right now, make it work. Going for another win here in what's been a stellar season. I mean, for Van Drugman right now, probably in the most opportune position to make that happen.
And I am getting, again, I have a nerdy here providing me with some back-end stuff, because, again, I don't race as often as I used to. And it says that speeding is an end-of-line penalty under yellow, so you have to infer that he felt the pressure Sebastian did to beat Knoll out of the pits. And it is possible sometimes, Brad, when you have that number 1 pit stall, you see how short of a distance you have to that cone, and you think you might just be able to flat-foot it and peel out to get there, but sometimes you get there a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, I mean, even I've done that once or twice. You see that short run and you think there's no way that I'll get up to pit lane speed by the end of this. And unfortunately, the answer is always going to be a yes, you're going to get up to speed before it's all said and done. So you just have to be careful, and it's such an easy mistake to make, unfortunately, and well, it has dire consequences.
It does here, as again, every lap that Van Drugman is able to maintain the lead, the easier it will get to hang on, because eventually Nichols is probably going to abuse those tires and they will semi-equalize. Again, right now that 73 still clearly has the advantage. So surprisingly, Knoll in the 1 has fallen back. He's under fire from Scioli. Also the 70 of Forbes, who we know has pace. Logan Helton, Michael Curhan, highest he's been on the day. Reese Schaefer. Talked about Frankie Barroso. He was outside of the top 10. He's now finds himself in the top 10. And then David Weishart, who I believe was caught with the pit cycle during one of the yellows, but he has got himself in a solid top 10 position.
I do believe you were correct with that as well, but as you said, sitting in a great top 10 position here. Jumping back up here towards Jake Nichols, holding into second place. There's a bit of a gap that's built up between second and third now, which is allowing a little bit of breathing room to be had up in the top 2, and I think that's just what they need, is a little bit of breathing room to sort of settle themselves out. Everyone there, third place back, really starting to find the battle. Top 2, I think, just going into the end of this race, if you're Jake Nichols, I'm sitting in the rhythm, and I am just letting Van Drugman, putting enough pressure in to make Van Drugman really run these tires out.
I think that was the lights clicking on here at Darlington with 40 laps to go. This is now officially a night race here, as you can see the shadows emitting, and that track temp likely going down and down. Actually, it's only gone down 1 degree since last we checked, but it should be exponential. Of course, the track heat that these cars are putting into the surface, it does actually have a subsurface effect. So they are actually heating up the surface underneath the asphalt. I think 6 feet below the surface. iRacing models the track temperature. So as night hits, that surface heat will rise. So it will cool off slowly, but it will indeed still cool off, and we'll see these lap times maybe not get faster and faster because we don't have any more fresh tires, but should see some more grip to avail. But Van Drugman doing a bang-up job to hang on. Sebastian Marin has only managed to get up to the 15th spot.
Marin only making it to the top 15
here
so
we
far.
go.
Big deal. Here we go for the lead. Van Drugman, Jake Nichols, side by side, barely clears by a millimeter there. Van Drugman over Nichols will hold that lead yet again. And I tell you what, one of my favorite sayings from Wednesdays is it's one thing to catch, it's another to pass. And right now, this is proving true on a Monday night. You're catching, Jake. You just need to get past Van Drugman, which apparently is easier said than done.
Well, Van Drugman is doing the Logano and just purposely trying to make the lane that Nichols wants to work his lane to put as much dirty air on the nose. Because again, the longer that Nichols stays in second, the harder it's going to be for him to make that pass. And well, if he does that, Nichols will be able to make the pass, scraping the turn 1 and 2 wall, adding to the stripe collection here. But let's bring up the lap times once again. Really curious where Noel stands in this mix. He was the fastest last time by a skosh. But a skosh is not going to gain 1 second. So he's going to need to make some bigger inklings or hope that these top two start duking it out.
I wouldn't be surprised if these top two do keep duking it out as they go through. It's such an interesting balancing act, and maybe I'm just a more conservative driver on iRacing. I'm more willing to kind of take my time and sit behind and really long strategy more than force an issue quickly. I'm comfortable sitting back for a while, and well, obviously I am the exception, not the rule, because Jake Nichols already starting to try to get a go. Marin, look at this, working his way up into P14 now. He's led 132 laps this race. Heartbreaking to see him back in 14th as he sits back here on the go. Needs to try to work his way back up to first before lap 200. And unfortunately, if it was any other track but Darlington, I think he'd have a better chance.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen him make masterful moves through the field, but not here today. So Van Drugman in the lead now, back to 1.5 tenths as he continues to hold on to the charge as they both hit the wall off of turn 2. Noel has gained a little bit of time, taking it down to 7 tenths, 3/4 of a second. And here comes another charge to the bottom through 3 and 4. That's a really hard place to pass through 3 and 4. I think the best thing he can really do is try to get the run off of 2 and do the old Darlington slide job and dive into turn 3 and try to clear. I think that's the best opportunity, but he's going to have to get a masterful run off 2, and he's not going to get it that time.
This track is so tricky for what it is. Like, it's a track that is really going to ask a lot out of you on the go here, and it's so hard to get the right run. It's so easy to get the wrong run, and it's definitely proving to be a track here today that is demanding the most out of these drivers here time and time and time again. As again, another smack to the wall there onto the backstretch for Jake Nichols as we head into 165 of 200. I can't do math off the top of my head, but we got more side-by-side battles further back.
That's 35 laps. And Brad, you got to stop saying time after time, or Cindy Lauter is going to copyright our broadcast here. So, you know what else, Brad? You were talking about your perspective as a driver. You know what we've never done, but it might actually be an interesting video?
Oh boy, what?
We should do like a commentator's PTRTV like dual race. You know, you could.
I feel like
you could host a road race. I host an oval race, and then we just do something random that both of us will suck at. We'll see who comes on top. Comes out on top.
We should do the we should do like one of the rallycross like runs. Isn't there a rallycross track for Charlotte that you can run through with the little VW buggies?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, that'd be a little fun idea to do here in a PTRTV off week. But here's the cheese underneath Barroso. That is Adam Cabot underneath. And again, trying to get the bite in turn 3 and not able to do so. But here we go, right to the rear bumper. Drag racing down the straightaway, bump drafting of sorts. And Knoll has managed to cut the gap within a half second. Not too far back is Scioli. So now Van Drugman starting to bring everybody into the picture. And here comes Nichols. Will he do the Darlington diver? He didn't have enough position. There's the 56 into the wall. And again, so hard to get the bite on the bottom of the racetrack on that side.
I mean, he's got to go for it. That's the thing. Going for it, trying to get the bite, doing everything right, but unfortunately just not able to get the pass done. It's one thing to catch, it's another to pass. I genuinely feel like I'm on a Wednesday night stream right now, as many times as I've had to say that here tonight, but it's just the nature of Darlington. This track is one of those that it's so frustrating because you're there, you're putting the pressure in, you're doing everything right to try to get the pass done, but it feels like there's just something missing every single time.
So this is what the only thing I think he can do, and he can't do it because Van Drugman is taking his line away. He can't get enough of a run off of 2 to where he can, maybe if he gets to the left rear tire, maybe he can send it on in there and try to clear. But Van Drugman is just masterfully taking the air off that 73. We talked about how important clean air is. Now he has a hell of a run. He's going to get a run off of 4. And can he send it on into turn number 1? And is anybody going to give? No. And into the wall goes Busch.
It was so close. He was trying. And it's just, it's... I think at this point, the bigger question is, does he have the tires to do it more than anything? He's got to be careful at this point about not pushing so much that he's ruining his car and taking away tires and any chance that he might have for anything else later in this race. You've got to really, really watch out for that.
And remember, most of these drivers, almost, I would say 97% of the field is stuck with what they got. So if a caution is to come out, I mean, Van Drugman, technically he has left sides on the wall. Adam Cabot might have a set of left sides on the wall, but realistically, you're not going to take them. So what you have now, whether you want it to or not, is going to have to get you until lap number 200. Marin has managed to get himself up to 11th. Again, he was 15th or so. I think last we focused on him. But he is, again, trying to do what he can. A little bit further up, Dylan Alt underneath Michael Curhan. Curhan is just going to let him go there. Again, that's some of that old Darlington etiquette. Ain't going to battle, I know you're faster.
I could see Marin getting up into 5th place by the end of this race. Maybe. I know he's at least going to get into a top 8. Top 5, questionable. Top 8, definitely doable. At this point, it's just a case of making the passes cleanly and efficiently, which is something that Marin can usually do well. Just wait and see what the recovery drive looks like for him as Jake Nichols up in 2nd place has really started to breathe through. Knoll and Scioli starting to battle it out for 3rd place here. And then behind that, you got Helton and Forbes Jr., who are going to swap some places. You're
going to see how dirty that number 70 car is. I think that aftermarket Coffee Camaro of John Forbes, super dirty, all the rubber all on this racetrack, and with all the green flag running, tons of marbles aplenty here. But dare I say, Brad, that Van Drugman, I said it was going to happen. The longer that he can hold off, the easier it gets with each lap. And now he actually has a decent lead, half a second over Jake Nichols, pardon me. And could he possibly go 5 for 9 on the season?
He's really riding his own Cinderella story right now. Like, I don't have a better way to phrase that other than he is truly riding the Cinderella story. And it's a case of, well, who's going to be the one to break his heart? And right now, I think the only person that can really hurt him is himself. Again, we talked about it, you know, at the top of the broadcast and a couple times through. He's not leading in points, even though he's going 5 for 9. Because the problem is those, ooh, Nichols, come on now. Be a little careful with it.
Yeah, that was a hard lick to the wall there, but Nichols doing the best he can. He's just the ebbs and flows. It went up to about a high of 4/10. Now he's down to 2. Maybe he had to lay back and let the tires cool off and make another charge at it. Still 22 laps to go. That's still about 11 minutes of green flag racing. And what will be, again, the longest race here of our 2026 area campaign. Just taking a gander here what we're going to do tomorrow night here at the Darlington Raceway. We are only going to do 120 laps, so a significantly shorter race for the truck boys tomorrow night. But this is surely an enduro here in round number 9 as we are already on the back half of our area season.
It's so interesting to see just the difference in the series and how they approach things and run and go through as we're watching these Cup drivers get into their final 20 laps of action right now, and just kind of getting the idea of how varying Mondays versus Tuesdays versus Thursdays truly is. It goes to show just where some of the difference in the car, in the run, and, well, in the preference of drivers and finding their favorite cars, where it plays out. Because if you're racing, you know, for some drivers, if they're racing a certain car that they prefer over another, they're going to race a lot differently, and everything fits differently. Right now for Van Drugman, the Cup car is his car, but to kind of finish on my thought earlier before I got interrupted by cars hitting walls, you know, for Van Drugman, when he's 5 out of 9 on wins, but when he's not winning, he's not having good races, and he's got to find that balance to continue to move his way forward and really make a challenge in this championship.
As all the while, James Scioli has just taken over P2 and now 0.8 of a second behind Van Drugman. Again, as you said, up and down season, obviously a lot of ups, but also a fair bit of downs, and he's trying to work on those. I think he did miss one race on the season, did Van Drugman? Actually, no, he didn't. He's been here for all 8. So, yeah, it's just the inconsistency and the issues. But now Scioli in second, and we'll see. Last time through, Scioli was 0.2 of a second faster. Now, let's see if this trend continues. James Scioli, our points leader, he is still looking to break the goose egg. And what a dive and what a gain through 3 and 4.
That's what he needs to do. He needs to keep that up, that sort of momentum push, and finding those gains. That is really going to be what helps him here in the final 17 laps. He doesn't necessarily need to go for anything crazy. He just needs to keep finding those little bits, those leaps, those bounds, and, well, just put the pressure on Van Drugman. Let Van Drugman outdrive himself. That is going to be the key here. Look at the dive to the inside. Still trying to find a way forward here. Does he have it in the tank? I think he has it in the tank. It's just going to be a matter of a little bit of lady luck and a lot of his skill need to come together.
Now, one thing I brought up earlier, Brad, is with the cooler track temperatures, traditionally you want to run the geometrically fastest lane, because when the track has more grip, running the outside usually doesn't offer you the same level of appeal. And that's what the 7 is doing. He's running the low lane. Scioli is running on the low lane. Van Drugman's running the high lane. And you could see every time through 3 and 4, Van Drugman's losing a ton of time. He's going to have to make that adjustment, and he's going to have to make it quick.
And he's a smart driver. He knows. I'm sure he's, well, he might have the broadcast on in the background. To be honest with you, he's a smart driver. He knows what he needs to do. but I think there is a little bit of saving tires and saving the car a little bit that's coming into play with this going through these final laps, where he's having to balance that through. But again, you know, I hate to bring up the fact he's 17, but this is also one of those things. Younger drivers, sometimes the tail end of these long, hard-fought races, that endurance being left can be a big challenge. And, well, if that's the case, then it can make or break his race.
Here's Scioli with a little bit of a dive to the bottom, and you have to remember, too, the two tires. Perhaps he knows that that bottom is faster, but perhaps the car just won't run down there where it stands at this point in the run. Maybe that's the only place he feels comfortable, but we know how difficult it is to pass down there, so even leaving it open, maybe the risk is still worth the reward. As a lot of contact there, and just in front, I think that's Christian DeBoer. That's putting some dirty air on the nose of that number 56. And here comes Scioli with a dive to the bottom, trying to shut the door. Super close quarters. This may be it for Scioli. Let's see if he can dive and clear.
Traffic making all the difference. Who would have thought? But Scioli not able to clear, slots back up behind Van Drugman, and now is going to wait till they get a little bit closer. Needs to try to use lap down traffic as a bit of a pick here. Just force Van Drugman to be stuck behind and see what you can do here. But the 55 here, the blue tip pool builder car pulling all the way down low, not going to get any opportunity.
Oh, no, Dylan Alt. Dylan Alt did an Alt F4. Again, so much respect being shown by these drivers tonight, not wanting to affect the outcome of what is looking to be a really good finish here. See, huge slide. He could tell he was probably going up the track. He exited the sim. He didn't want that to throw this race astray. Second time we've seen a driver do that. Full respect given to Dylan Alt, although unfortunate because he was in the top 10. But now we come down to within 10 laps to go. Van Drugman has held the challenge from Jake Nichols. He's held the challenge now from Scioli. Sebastian Marin, you predicted he would get himself up to 5th. He's up to 6th. Here's Scioli with a dive, but we know how difficult that move is. Can he sustain? Can he hold the position? This may be it. I think he can dive it here.
Let's see what he does here. Van Drugman trying to pinch a little bit. You can see there
coming
down. Here we go. Down to go on. Oh.
You can't dive in deep if the driver you're trying to battle with drives it in just as deep, if not more than you, and that will create a little bit of a gap. Jake Nichols just lurking back there, 0.8 of a second back, just waiting for something to go asunder here to give him maybe a chance. Are we queuing up one of the 2003 finishes here? Look at the back of the shot. There's Marin going for 5th underneath Logan Helton. He's 2.5 seconds out of this thing. He may get himself up to 3rd at this rate.
This is not over. 8 laps to the end. Plenty of racing left to go. Let's set this thing up again. Get to the inside here. Get offset in the line. Try to start thinking about the move. See what you can do. Big run off the corner here. Look at this all the way down. Light lift there and doesn't go for it into the corner. Is setting this up beautifully. Knows that it needs to be set up well and is doing it.
Here it is. This is it. This is the run. He has the major run. He should be able to do a Darlington diver and clear. James Scioli, he trying to do it, but Van Drugman driving it so deep they pancake each other, bouncing off of the wall. Van Drugman hanging on for his life, still side by side. 6 laps to go at Darlington.
These two are going to wreck each other because neither one wants to lift out of it. And look at that, pinching all the way to the wall, holding right on that corner panel. Van Drugman now trying to cut down, trying to defend. Scioli doing a beautiful job of setting those runs up, but just is having to get out of it because he doesn't want to wreck Van Drugman. Look at that, sitting though. Oh, he's going to clear contact though with Van Drugman. Van Drugman up into the wall, and that is going to give Scioli the run. 5 laps to go. James Scioli into the lead.
Now, he had to try something. I mean, I don't know how well that's going to go over in Van Drugman's world, but there's the instant replay. He drove to the bottom. He tried. Yeah, he did try to leave him a space there, but he just washed up a little bit Van Drugman hit the wall oh so many times, but one too many. He could not recover from that, and now he has a gap. James Scioli by about 0.4 of a second. Van Drugman finally in the dirty air. Scioli still looking for his first Cup win of the season, has the points leader, and he is about 3.5 laps away from it.
Let's see here how it happens as we get into the end of this race. I mean, can Van Drugman catch back up is my question. And Sebastian Marin trying to set things up for a top 3 here now. I said top 5. He's trying to prove me wrong and go for a top 3. He's just got Jake Nichols to get past here, and he's looking mighty quick here right on the back end of that 73.
I mean, if there was a green-white checker on the table, which I don't want to see, honestly, that 66 is winning this race. You can't fool me against it, but just look at the run. We'll see if he can make a diver to the bottom. Seth Knoll, who I gave so much credit for, thought he was going to be the one to win this race, but if Sebastian did not, but not able to do it. But look at Sebastian, just able to drive to the bottom in 3 and 4. We have not seen anybody be able to do that, Brad, with speed. Drive to the bottom and then as easily clears. That's just, nobody can do that tonight.
I don't know what he's got in that car that's letting him make that difference, but doggone me, he is absolutely having the run here. But Scioli somehow getting past Drugman. Well, not somehow. I mean, we saw how it happened. And, well, he's coming around. He's coming towards Barney. White flag waving. 1 lap to go here, Corey. And, well, it's a storybook one.
Now the Darlington 200 here for the Area Cup Series, brought to you by the Studio Temporary, has been largely clean and green. Sebastian Marin dominated the race, but even himself found a chink in the armor and managed to get a speeding penalty. Drove up to 3rd, but that opened the door for Van Drugman, who wasn't able to hang on. Scioli with the dive. He managed to get the lead, and he's going to come off of 4. James Scioli, the points leader, breaks the goose egg and wins here at Darlington. And
wow.
Sebastian lost 3rd there by 7/100 of a second. Jake Nichols managed to hold on to that 3rd spot, but James Scioli getting the win. I mean, it's going to be interesting to hear the interviews. Van Drugman knew how cleanly Scioli raced him. I don't honestly think he's going to be that upset with that contact, because Scioli could have did a lot worse if he wanted to. But it was a hard track to pass, and you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
That could have went so many different ways, but in the end, I think we got an absolutely amazing show here, as that number 7 is going to burn it down. Scioli with a great win here. And, well, let's take a look at the results here, Corey, as the cars go through, because your top 10 as they sat, it was Scioli, it was Drugman, Nichols, Marin, Knoll, Helton. Your top 6, John Forbes Jr. in 7th, Kurhan, Cabot, and Drew Jua rounding out your top 10 here tonight.
Second page results: Frankie Barroso and Reese Schaefer 11th and 12th, Jarrett Tallmadge 13th, Josh Caudell in 14th, Justin Anasogak in 15th, Connor Horn, AJ Stravato, Travis Beckner, decent recovery for him. Obviously had that issue well early in the race. David Brown and Tyler Nichols, and we'll let the rest of them scroll on by here as 24 drivers on the lead lap, last of which being Jacob Bell. And the rest of these drivers all had a myriad of issues. Zach Nerney did not take to the green flag. Our race recap here today, again, for a 200 lap at Darlington, we only had 4 cautions, so this was a very, very clean race. But let's head straight to Victory Circle, where we will do our best to cue these people up. And we do have James Scioli, so a very, very long enduro here at Darlington, James. Of course, Sebastian opening the door with that speeding penalty, but you had to fight and fight and fight, and you finally got by Van Drugman, albeit with a little contact, and you get it in Victory Circle. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, a little bit of contact, not normally how I like to do them, but And it was just so tough to pass. I was rolling the bottom really good, and everybody else was kind of committed to the top, so I knew I had to try something different to help save tires, get clean air, and just kind of running that apron line in 3 and 4. I didn't really see anybody else running it, but it was working really good for me. And by the end there, I think just the 2 tires of Van Drugman, he was just really starting to struggle on exits. So I was getting really good exits. I knew it was going to be tough to get a big enough run to pass him into one, just with the shape of the corner. You know, the outside can just carry so much momentum down on that end. So I knew it was probably going to have to be a bit of a slide job into 3, and it seemed like at least for a couple laps he was kind of using the wall and getting some pretty good runs, you know, just barely tapping it right when he was going to the gas, and it was just perfectly helping him rotate the car and get good exits. So you know, I was just kind of going to have to catch him by surprise, and that's why I went for it when I did. I wasn't alongside on entry, so it's kind of a big send, a little bit of a gas up in the center just to stay up a little bit higher and prevent him from being able to arc it down the corner, and it just gave me just enough to motor on and keep rolling.
Absolutely. Of course, well, you did start 13th here in the race, so not the primo starting position. And of course, with a long race, one of the few races where tires really weren't aplenty. You really had to manage them over the course of the race. But do you feel like if you maybe had prime position to battle with Sebastian, that perhaps you could have raced him one-on-one? Because it seemed like you and Noel and, of course, Van Drugman all were pretty close, but never really had that even battle.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say without ever being up by him. I mean, he's insanely fast everywhere, right? So it's tough to say if I would have been able to keep up with him. Maybe if he did 2 tires and I was on 4, maybe it was kind of a similar situation. But, you know, without being up there and really racing him, it's tough to say. And clean air plays such a big factor. You know, if you can get out front, you just save your tires that much better and keep them that much cooler over the course of the run.
Absolutely. Well, as the points leader here in the Cup Series, you break the goose egg, you get the win. I'll give you the floor for any shout-outs you want to give.
Yeah, first I want to give a huge shout out to Nico Garcia for the paint scheme. Obviously not too much of a throwback, but wanted to throw back to Kyle Busch's last Dover win. You know, it's been an interesting last couple weeks in the sport, so I felt it was only right to honor Kyle in some sort of way, and it was awesome to see all the Kyle Busch throwbacks out there. So shout out to everyone there. Big shout out to Solar Flare, finished 1st, 3rd, and 5th. So another great team points day as well. Shout out JWR Race Cars, Sim Speed Shop, Solar Flare Shop for being on the car, and hopefully we're talking to you guys again on Thursday.
Absolutely, right here at the same track. We'll see if you could duplicate it. Good job, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
And now Van Drugman up with Brad with a 2nd place here on the evening.
Van Drugman, lots of laps led, started 2nd, and in the end, it's 2nd. Talk to me about those final 10 laps there in your battle there with Scioli.
Well, first off, you know, great scheme for the man up above, Ratty. We'll miss him forever. Praise go out to him, his family. But as for the race, you know, what goes around comes around. That's all I'll say.
Man, it was a hard-fought Darlington, longest race of the season here. How'd you find the car handling through? And, well, how was tire management playing out for you?
Well, the first run was really good. Seb just had the clean air, and I was too close to where I get in this air, and it make me tight, but then it have so much cross on it and slide the right rear tire. But we were good the first run. Second run, I just got plagued by lap traffic. And then tire setting was a big thing. Clean air was even bigger, though. I know I took 2 tires because I was in VC with Seb, and he sped. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try to take 2 and hopefully get track position. I did. Just 50 laps was a little too much. If it was more like 40 laps, that would have been way more doable. But it wasn't. And, you know, what goes around comes around.
I'm looking ahead to Daytona Road here in 2 weeks' time. How do you feel about road courses, and, well, what do you think you're going to be able to bring to the table for 42 laps there?
Road courses are my bread and butter. They're my go-to. If I need an up week, road courses, I just go to a road course. But Salts and Noma, Dylan was really fast, so I'm going to really have to hone in on the lap time there and just hope, you know, it's enough. But thank y'all for broadcasting. It was a lot of fun, but it's a shame, man. One of the 5th one.
Absolutely. Well, Van Drugman, man, congrats on the second place. Hard fought through, and well, we'll catch up with you again here soon.
All right, thank you.
And Corey, I believe you've caught up with third place, Mr. Jake Nichols.
Now, Jake Nichols in a very close finish there with Sebastian for the podium, but you edge it out there to put that 73 in the third spot. Showed some speed, showed some opportunity to, battle for the win there at moments, but just seemed like you were just missing just a little bit of something. Just kind of summarize your night for us.
The car just, I don't know, it was really weird. Some runs it kind of felt really good for us. Some runs it just 180 completely. The last run right there, it was just so tight, and it's so hard to pass. That I was trying. I felt like I was way faster at the time, but it's just so hard to pass. I don't know if Van was hitting the wall, but on our ends he was hitting the wall on our screens every single turn. So it's hard to judge, where he's at, where he's gonna be, and the bottom just didn't seem to have the grip late to really make a pass full on without really doing what James had to do. I probably had the opportunity to do that once, maybe twice on Van, but I felt like I had more opportunities and I just didn't end up getting them. But either way, the simspeedshop.com Caterpillar throwback was pretty good overall. It looks nice out there. I just took a peek of it after the race, and the chrome really shines well.
Yeah, I was debating whether to do a Ward Burton accent, but I spared everybody because that would have went absolutely abysmally. But obviously coming close to the end of the chase here, and you are still looking for that W, but you're clear with a good spot heading into the chase. But Daytona Road, a very unique and unused track, coming up in 2 weeks' time, Kansas and Dega. So how are you feeling about getting yourself cemented for the chase?
Well, I like Daytona Road. I think road course wise it's probably my best shot right now on the game. Dega's obviously Dega. We've won there a few times actually, and really our team has, because Tyler has as well, but it's so unpredictable. I mean, you can't really do much there other than just hope and pray. And Kansas is usually pretty good for solar flare in general, so hopefully we can show up there and get some sort of momentum, whether it's on this in this next gen or on Thursday as well. We're usually really good at Kansas, so hopefully either way we can just keep the momentum rolling. We've been pretty consistent, which is nice, so to be where we're at in points with no wins, something we'll take and keep moving forward and try to win.
Yep, and of course we'll see what iRacing throws into the curveball category with the build in 2 weeks' time, but we'll see what happens. But any final shouts before we let you go?
Just simspeedshop.com, Solar Flare Shop, like always, and JWR Race Cars. Obviously we're running the Fords over here with Solar Flare, but it's ironic, I'm running the Toyotas tomorrow and with TCE Sports and the Coke Series, and then we got Chevrolet on Thursday with Lucky Ducks Motorsports. But just thanks to all my team, and we ran a great race overall. Hats off to James for winning in the Kyle Busch throwback, and it was very last minute putting that car out there, the truck that he just won in, but he pulled it off and pulled one out for Rowdy there, and thankfully Solar Flare could be on top one more time.
Absolutely, great job, man, hanging on for the podium, and we'll catch you soon.
Thank you.
Well, Brad, we obviously the longest race of the year, but we found ourselves into a doozy. Thought we were headed into a Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch battle, but Scioli able to fight his way through for the win with a few laps to go, and I guess we'll be in for some interesting racing with Van Drugman. Maybe he'll cool off, or maybe he'll be setting sails.
Yeah, I think that's the unhappiest we've ever heard Van Drugman in an interview, especially for a second place. He was not thrilled at all. And, well, tell you what, next race out, of course, All-Star next week. But then get your popcorn buckets, because it seems like we're in for a doozy heading into the championship.
Of course. So make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe here on PTRTV, and consider following on Twitch. The $5 a month, double points, custom emotes, and eventually you can get those points into free merch. We'll be back tomorrow with the Area Truck Series as well as the Triple Bypass ARCA Series. Wednesday is Elbows Out Road Course Racing. Thursday is the Florida State Builders Pro Series. Busy time here on the channel. Would love to have you in the audience enjoying this racing along with us. But that's going to be Corey and Brad signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.